Since 2004, Innovate has been on the brink of breaking out as the next big thing. Its founders, Ivy-educated cousins Bashir and Hasnain Sheikh, have for more than a decade been known in the industry to be young, hungry, talented, and equipped with the best teams, ideas, resources, and the right connections. But despite all that they had going for them, Pakistan's pioneers in fintech have managed to squander their advantages. Once Pakistan's most valuable fintech startup, today, Innovate is little more than a bare-bones ghost town, littered with the remains of once ambitious products that have one by one met eerily similar ends. The more than 16-year journey of Innovate has seen dizzying highs, abysmal lows, shocking scandals, and millions of dollars down the drain on a company that was always fledgling, but never quite able to take off to the heights it had promised. This is their story, a business tragedy in 5 parts, and the hamartia is hubris. Taimur Hassan and Babar Nizami report. Act 1. The beginning. In 2006, the buzz about town was the Punjab Development Fund's, or PFD, Crorepati raffle scheme. While the scheme had been launched by the Pakistan Muslim League Q government in Punjab, other than making the Bank of Punjab its banker and collecting agent, the show was being run by a then little-known company called Innovate. The company had been founded by Bashir and Hasnain Sheikh, the scions of a well-off family that fitted around elite circles of Lahore, counting among their friends Munis Ilahi. But Innovate was not going to be any other startup company that churns out boring, steady cash flow. Their idea was fresh, and they were going to settle for nothing less than the best. And the first step along that road was the Crorepati scheme. Despite being a tech company, Innovate took on everything for this project, from marketing to the technology being used and everything in between. From the get-go, it was clear that the cousins would settle for nothing less than complete domination. They pursued aggressive marketing tactics, buying out space on the most prime billboards, newspapers, and television slots. But then, disaster struck. The courts struck down the scheme, and ticket sales did not make up for the aggressive marketing, and Innovate came out of this bruised. This was Innovate's first failure, and set the tone for a pattern of failings that would continue on for the next decade to come, where Innovate would impress, fail to meet the mark, and then move on to their next grand project. Act 2. The big break and the bigger blow. The cousins bounced back from this early setback quickly. Innovate was far ahead of its time, and the cousins were young and impressive, enough to win a contract with Mobilink in 2005, coming to an agreement under which they were to launch a technology platform for mobile payments. The result of this partnership was Mobilink Genie, powered by Innovate. The product itself, much like Innovate, was ahead of its time. It was essentially a payment management app that allowed users to connect multiple bank accounts to their phones and use them to make payments. Mobilink and Innovate essentially partnered to take the banks out of the payments equation, and Innovate had done it without even consulting the State Bank of Pakistan. But the typical startup ethos of disrupt now and adapt later backfired. The people at SPP took the lack of attention to heart, and in 2006, they came to bust the party, banning Mobilink Genie and other methods of pay and transfer. The logic behind this has escaped many since. People within Innovate and many in the banking circles have said that it had mostly to do with the SPP being miffed that Innovate had not come to pay its respects. A few years after this, the SPP would itself allow pay and transfer apps and technologies, but only at a time when it was too late for Innovate. They had been ransacked and left for dead. It was a matter of Innovate being ahead of the curve, but also them being so lost in this passion of being innovators that they forgot to get important stakeholders, such as the SPP, on their side. Down for the count, Mobilink was also quick to abandon the sinking ship, and Innovate was dead weight. What followed was a wilderness period for the company before its last serious resurgence. Act 3. Cut down to size. From their once lofty dreams, the cousins found their baby turned into a software as a service or SaaS company. This meant they were now providing tech solutions to banks as a third party instead of innovating and partnering with them. A ray of sunshine finally came in the form of Gestetner, a European company that signed a JV with Innovate and invested $1 million into the joint-owned Mobile Commerce Limited, or MCL, while Innovate contributed with technology and software. However, Innovate soon exploited loopholes in the contract to double-cross Gestetner and sign deals privately, entangling themselves in a messy legal battle that proved to be the death of MCL. Act 4. The final putsch. Once more failing to meet the mark, Innovate continued with their SaaS model while the cousins were biding their time. Soon enough, they got a call from the old team at Mobilink, which had now been poached by the Abu Dhabi group Wateen. All the official paper signing business happened in 2011. Over the next few years, Wateen housed Innovate at their offices in Lahore, while Bashir and Hasnain reinvigorated the desire to see Innovate succeed. Wateen was paying salaries of Innovate employees, including salaries for the co-founders and operational costs. In return, Innovate focused and developed Wateen's capabilities as a trusted provider of financial solutions. Here, Innovate finally did begin to flourish, becoming the go-to option for banks including JS Bank, the Bank of Punjab, Suneri Bank, and Mizan Bank to organize their digital presence. But while Innovate was finally looking strong, Wateen was burning itself out of cash trying to pay for it. In their hope for a good response from their fellow Abu Dhabi group holding, the cousins went to Bank Al Falah, where they presented in front of the bank's head, Atif Bajwa. What follows is a murky he said, she said situation, in which the cousins claim the bank stole their idea, while Al Falah claims they just found a better option. On October 30th, 2015, Innovate announced raising $5.4 million in Series A round from His Highness Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan, the chairman of the Abu Dhabi Group, for an equity stake of 5%. After that equity injection, Innovate's valuation was now $108 million. It was being touted as the largest fintech company in the country and among the most successful startups. This is what Innovate had always promised to become. Except, even in this valuation, something was fishy. Act 5. The valuation. With its $108 million valuation, Bashir and Hasnain Sheikh were once again walking around with a spring in their step. They had managed to maneuver a huge valuation, but their smiling faces soon wilted as every investor and client they went to, touting the absurdly high number, were in no mood to consider the valuation. It became laughable. In its filings with the SECP, the company states that I8 Global, the UAE-based holding company controlled by Sheikh Nahyan, invested $5.4 million for an equity stake of 60%. If a $5.4 million check resulted in a sale of 60% of the company's shares, that implies a valuation of $9 million, a far cry from $108 million. We have tried several mathematical calculations to reverse engineer how the $108 million valuation makes sense, and we were unable to do so. We reached out to Bashir Sheikh and Hasnain Sheikh and asked them to walk us through the calculations, but they stated that they are prevented by a non-disclosure agreement with Sheikh Nahyan. But according to insider sources, what essentially happened was that Wateen owned Innovate and the cousins' money, but also wanted to buy them out. So Sheikh Al Nahyan offered the cousins a lump sum of money, say $15 million, and asked for a controlling share in the company. The sheikh would take the company off the cousins' hands and give them a lump sum in exchange for settling all scores between the two parties. The cousins agreed. However, when they issued a press release, they said that the 5% was for $5.4 million, without mentioning the rest of the settlement. Requiem, PhonePe. It has been a story of getting hit, getting back up, and getting hit again for Innovate. As the banks they had signed with became frustrated with the cousins lying and charging exorbitant rates for updates, a revenue stream was clearly about to be cut short. So Innovate moved on to their latest, and perhaps last, attempt at a product, PhonePe, a lucrative deal with MasterCard. It was a brilliant scheme, an innovation in payment space, and a partnership that checked all the boxes. There were 3 parties to this project. Innovate would develop all the tech and make any application and any ecosystem to run it on, which came in the form of PhonePe. MasterCard would deploy its network, and the money would flow through a bank, which in this case was Mizan Bank. Essentially a new and improved version of MobileLink Genie, the PhonePe app would link multiple bank accounts of users, and the users would then use the app to scan QR codes at points of sale and use whichever bank account has discounts on it or which they needed to use for a specific purpose. The transaction scheme from this business was theoretically supposed to be very lucrative if it grew fast enough, but it did not grow fast enough. While Innovate was spending money on getting the merchants on board and deploying the QR codes, not enough users were processing transactions through them, and expensive marketing campaigns didn't work either. In 2018, things got uglier for Innovate when it laid off half of its workforce, mainly its sales team that built its merchant portfolio. And court cases ensued because the laid-off employees were not paid salaries for many months against the hard work they put in during their time at Innovate and PhonePe. There has not been any good news about PhonePe since then. It seems PhonePe is just another one of the many ventures and projects Innovate started with great hopes, but which are nothing more than dead weight now. For now, barring one lucrative contract with the Bank of Punjab, Innovate is finished. But they've been finished many times in the past as well, and have somehow never failed to find the tailcoats of investors to ride on. Do they have yet another one up their sleeves?